Welcome to Season 4 of Song Revolution, where you're going to find great information, interviews, and inspiration to fulfill your passionate calling to write great songs. Hey everybody, John back with you for another great episode of Song Revolution. I can't believe we've been doing this show since 2017. There are so many great shows back in the archives. If you want to go and check out Bear Reinhardt from Need to Breathe, Matt Maher, Kim Walker-Smith, so many awesome. Leanna Crawford, just about a year ago. God and Goats, I think was the name of that one. It was great. So go check out all the archives there at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. I love doing the show because I love making new friends. And today I'm very excited to bring you someone who I think is already a great friend, Amanda Janson. Amanda was born in the New York area. Her mom was Jewish. Her dad was Catholic. She grew up very confused. Now, she became a believer early on in life, pretty much walked away from an awesome Broadway career in the making, and God got a hold of her life. And one of my favorite fun facts about Amanda, besides the fact that she's a powerhouse vocalist, is that she got saved with a Chick-fil-A sandwich in her hand. So I would love you to make welcome to Song Revolution, Amanda.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, so excited.
Now, did you save that Chick-fil-A sandwich? Do you still have it?
We do not. Not even the wrapper.
I think that would be a great memento. I mean, you came to Christ eating a Chick-fil-A.
This is very true in my hand.
Tell us a little bit about that story. I can't just drop that out there and not share that part of your story.
Well, God is a God of detail. So that's a huge, fun detail. I love that part. We were at a membership class for a church, the first church that I had really attended with my husband. This was back in 2013.
Because you didn't really grow up in church.
Did not grow up in the church.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So one day, that fall of 2013, my husband dragged me to church, and it was actually Starbucks that got us to church.
Yeah,
it's the food for me. It really is.
Food and good coffee.
It is. And so 2 months later at a membership class, we had Chick-fil-A. So I was holding a Chick-fil-A sandwich in my right hand when the pastor gave the invitation to the gospel. I heard the gospel truly for the first time and gave my life to Christ.
So
with
beautiful.
A Chick-fil-A sandwich.
But hey, it could be worse, right?
It's sweet and funny. It's great.
It is.
That's right.
But you were, first before that, you'd been really affected by a sense of deep worship when you walked into the church.
That's right.
And you had not ever really felt that before. That caused some curiosity and then led to the membership class. And
That's right.
now to a wonderful ministry of your own as a worship artist. And
yes.
I'm not kidding at all. I mean, I know it's probably typical that a podcast person would say, "Oh, I just love your music," but I really do love your music. It's like, not just because you're here. It's so powerful. Your vocals are just so strong, and just take us back a little bit into, because you grew up aspiring to be on Broadway, and you were really working toward that, and then God, even before you knew God, you walked away from that. But
right.
How does it feel to be using your gifts and your talents at this point to honor God and to feel like you didn't just have to flush all that away, but it's still working for you?
That's right. I think this is all just proof that He truly is the one that instills the gifts and talents and desires within us. And so I think my entire process of trying to reach this status of fame and for people to know me was what was so unfulfilling prior to doing this for the Lord. And now that it's for His fame and glory, I think there's so much more purpose and meaning behind what I do, that it's for something so much larger than myself that I can create with my own hands, but in true partnership with God.
That's so awesome. So you saw the emptiness of the vanity of just getting people to worship you when you knew somehow intuitively that there was a supreme being, a power, something that was greater than yourself.
That's right.
And that was kind of the genesis of your journey into Christ.
Yeah, that's it.
Led to a Chick-fil-A sandwich. That's,
Shout out Chick-fil-A.
there you go. Maybe they'll sponsor us.
Right.
But it's been a circuitous journey, to get you guys to Nashville, because your husband was offered the possibility of opening an office here for a company he was working with. That fell through.
Yep.
You didn't know what you were going to do, but your heart was still here.
That's right.
And then you have a pretty interesting story of winning a competition, the Marcus Rickson Artist Competition.
Yes,
Congratulations.
yes.
What, 4 years ago?
Almost 5.
5,
Yeah.
But that ultimately got you guys here just
That's right.
basically on faith. No,
Yes.
did your husband have a job that opened up here? How did that happen?
He did 2 weeks before we moved here.
But you knew you were going to come.
We knew it.
Yeah.
I think when God calls you to something, you can't shake it. You can't run from it.
Right.
And at that point, we had walked through too much to say no.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
our whole life is just open-handed. Like, we're here, God, whatever you want to do.
And then you won the contest and started working with the We Rock people. Were you part of that? Or
So
Marcus
We
was part
Rock
of that?
was the first studio that I
Yeah.
recorded in.
Yeah,
The first
they're
studio I had ever
awesome.
been in ever. And so they
Wow.
just kind of rolled out the red carpet my first time
Shout
there.
out. Yeah, they're
and
great people.
They're
We love them.
amazing people. And the competition just opened some really cool doors. And it's what got us here. It was the stone of remembrance that I feel like God planted to be like, okay, this is the turning point. You have to go and pursue this.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, you knew that, but God was making the way. There's an old Irish, saying that may the road rise up to meet you,
That's
and I
right.
love that. And so God orders our steps, and when we're following Him, the road kind of rises up, right?
That's
And
it.
So
That's it.
that's awesome. How have you found the transition over here to be, and maybe specifically about learning to write, co-write? You've got amazing songs,
Thank
not
you.
only on this brand new album, Sinner to Saint, that just released in February.
Yes,
Congratulations, you're
thank
already nominated for a
you.
Grammy.
Hey, let's go.
Come on, we'll go ahead and throw that out,
We're
into
speaking
the,
it out.
into the world. There
That's
you go.
right.
But how have you found the transition to be, and how do you feel like you're developing as a writer and an artist?
Absolutely. And, prior, I was so okay with being small town worship leader. This whole artistry thing was never on my radar until God put it on my radar. And so I feel like in a lot of ways, I just started brand new, just a brand new writer, brand new co-writer. So learning to be in spaces, respecting the room.
It's a different thing, isn't it? Oh, yeah.
It is. And you make mistakes, you get up, you learn. There is one piece of advice that I was given before moving here, and it was, don't just create relationships to network, but create relationships to just build community. And so I feel like that's been in the writing spaces and even just the industry itself. It's a very small circle.
Yeah, it is.
And I just want to grow in relationship with people. And if we get a great song, that's amazing. If it's just for whatever was stirring in the room that day, that's great. And so I think learning that has really helped create what we now have as this album.
Hey everybody, we'll get right back to the episode in just a second, but if you're a songwriter who wants to grow in their craft, finally finish those songs that have been stuck in your journal for years, and connect and collaborate with Christian songwriters from around the globe, NCS Community is the place to start. We meet every week to offer accountability, training, resources, masterclasses, feedback, and song critiques on things that you're working on. And it's just a great place to connect with other Christian songwriters and encourage each other on the journey of becoming a great songwriter. NCS's mission has always been to empower Christian songwriters worldwide, and we'd love to see you there. So check it out, NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com/community. You can find all the details there right on our website, and we'd love to see you inside NCS Community. Check it out.
So back in your childhood, you wrestled with some demons and dealt with some drugs and alcohol and even disappeared for a few days. That is so hard. That's so traumatic and tragic.
Yeah.
And came to Christ, overcame a lot of that, but then a couple of years ago experienced some more difficulty and trauma and a dark season that ultimately led to this new record that we'll talk about in a minute. But can you open up some of that for us and kind of the work of God in your life?
Yes. Coming to know Christ mid-20s, I feel like I was thrown just into this kind of good works attitude. I didn't really know a lot about the heart of the Father. And so I think just carrying a lot of shame and burdens from my past, bad decisions, and just guilt that kind of wears
trauma.
on you.
I'm sure trauma, yeah.
A lot of unhealed trauma. And so constantly just chasing after the approval of people. And okay, let me do this music thing on what people expect of me, on what this industry expects of me, and write songs for radio, write songs for. And so I felt like I was kind of burying what I truly wanted to talk about and write about. And, you know, you come here with a dream, and we're human. We become desperate for that dream to become reality. I think we've all been in a position where maybe we've chased the dreams rather than the one who gave us the dreams in the first place.
Yeah.
And so with that desperation of wanting to, you know, sign a deal and get the booking agency and go on the tours and kind of have it all happen so quickly, just decisions were made that were not fruitful for my family, for myself, and kind of just going down this road of wanting so bad to be successful here in Nashville. And so that led to just kind of those old patterns of like, man, I messed up. And now here comes these feelings of self-hatred. I messed up. And now here comes the lies of the enemy of shame and guilt. And, you know, God's going to discipline me. And now he thinks I'm this bad kid. And, you know, here come the curses and just all of these things that are lies. And so with that just came a really deep depression of like, I failed. I haven't even been here 2 years and I failed.
And don't you think there are a lot of stories all around us here in Nashville, that very thing, and you hear about people who have scandals or fall from grace or get into addiction again, right? And we judge them all so harshly when it's like, you know, it's the human condition, first of all. Often we find ourselves caught up in more of a gospel of sin management. And I think it's what you were just referring to. You know, I screwed up, so now God's mad at me. Instead of understanding that there's a wideness in God's mercy.
So
right?
much.
So how did you deal with that? What brought you out?
You know, I wish I had just like this magic. Oh, it was just this thing. I woke up one day and I was okay.
Wait, you don't have that?
Right?
Okay.
Like, so I was just, you know, sprinkled with the Holy Spirit power.
Right.
Now
Little
I'm here.
Pixie dust.
But it's work. I think the Lord finally put a mirror in front of my face of just like, what are you truly after? Are you after this fame and glory thing again and just using my name to get where you want to be? Or do you want people to know me? Do you want to know me? Do you want my presence over popularity?
That's really heavy.
And so I think my heart was just fertile ground. You know, you get to the deep end of the ocean and there's really nowhere else to go but up. You either stay down there, you kick up and get back to the surface. And luckily, I'm married to an incredible man that was not about to see his wife be in such turmoil. And so I think just a partnership with the Lord and having a great partner in my husband started to see the light in a period of really deep darkness. And then a couple months later, in January of 24, I had this encounter with God that shook me to my core. And I think really just instilled like fear of the Lord in me, if I can be honest. And
can you share more what that was like?
Yeah, I was leading worship at my church and just had this moment where God was like, you can surrender to me fully surrender. All the pieces, all of the mess, I want it. Or we can keep going down kind of this cat and mouse path of hide and seek with the Lord. And I didn't want that. And so it was during worship, we were singing, oh goodness, what were we singing? Fresh Wind. And I surrendered to God and said, this is kind of like a re-salvation moment of I can't do this anymore. I release control. You can have all of me. And if that means completely restarting everything that I came here for, do it. I'm done.
Wow.
And he did.
Just a deep, in a good way, bottoming out.
Yes.
In the Lord.
Yes.
If I can say it that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. And how's life been different for you?
Ooh,
Internally, what's the internal dialogue these days, you know?
I mean, here on this side of heaven, there's always going to be turmoil. There's always going to be tension between flesh and spirit, and I think there's been a lot of good, a lot of progress. There's so much joy now. I feel like I see the Lord. I read his word through a very different lens. And there are moments still where you can get caught up, and, they're writing together. I wish I had that. Just the comparison game that is this industry sometimes. But I think the biggest thing is just contentment with where God has me, and contentment in being his daughter first before anything else, even a wife and a mom. I'm so happy being his kid.
That's so beautiful. I mean, just a deeper contentment in who you are as a daughter of God. That's so beautiful, and hard to get there sometimes. And it's hard to see people go through those things because you just wish you could go save them from themselves sometimes, but it's so hard. But it did eventually lead to writing Sinner to Saint. Incredible album.
Thank you.
Oh gosh.
Thank you.
I mean, it's like, I can't imagine what you went through writing those songs. They're so deep, heartfelt, powerful, compelling, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, I hear 1,000 songs a day, and, right? And what we do, it's really, really what you wish a Christian album would be, a gospel-centric album. So maybe take us, I know Where the Warfare Ends is really more specifically about that season when you really were tempted even to take your life. Talk about that song and how that came to be.
Man, it was a prayer that the Lord spoke over me in one of what I think was like you hit the bottom of the ocean kind of moment. And I'm sitting there by myself just wanting to check out and thinking how easy it could be to just have it all be over. When he spoke these words over me of this is where the warfare ends. This is where self-hatred comes to an end. And so it wasn't necessarily the moment where everything kind of clicked, but it was a turning point. And so going into this write, I was just told a couple days prior by a member of my team, hey, Amanda, pull back the onion layers in this season of writing. Go even deeper. And I'm thinking, how much deeper can we go?
Right?
That's really scary to be so vulnerable. But I went into that write just open and willing to bare my soul. And, it's through the power of our testimonies that people can come to know the Lord for themselves.
Revelation 12.
Yes. Yeah. And so going into this write with literally the exact words that God spoke over me with some very trusted friends, we felt the power of the Holy Spirit in the room that day. And I think by the time we were tracking the demo, we were just all sobbing over what the Lord had just written through us.
And who did you write it with?
Nick Lukowski, Ryan Hall, and Katie Rios.
I know Ryan. He's one of my dear friends.
Yes,
and so,
yes.
Goodness, you're going to walk out with something great.
Always, every time.
That's so beautiful. Can you, do you remember, it's sometimes hard to remember words without singing it, but can you tell us the words to the chorus or however much of Where the Warfare Ends?
Yeah.
Just so we can enjoy it here in the moment.
Yeah, so the chorus is, this is where the warfare ends, cutting ties with all regret. The enemy you face today, you will never see again. Peace is your inheritance, which is literally in a more poetic way what God had spoke over me in that really dark moment.
That's so powerful. And I mean, I think you said it earlier that, we have these Holy Spirit moments where it's like a fresh infilling, a fresh baptism, if you will, but then we have to walk it out.
That's right.
And, sometimes we do face that darkness again and have to re-engage. You said like a re-salvation moment, but it's like, I know that's a weird thing for people to get their heads around. Like,
absolutely.
Can you be born again?
Yeah.
But you do get filled again. I mean, one baptism and many fillings, and it's a daily kind of discipline to walk in that. So that's really amazing. And what I love about what you've done, first of all, thank you for being willing to even share your story about that. Jason Gray, one of my first podcasts years ago, Jason told his story about after his divorce, how depressed he was. And even with two young boys sleeping downstairs, he found himself in the attic with a hose around his neck. That was a powerful moment. And
yeah.
what I love about what you're doing with your music and your testimony is you're giving the rest of us permission to talk about the darker moments in our lives. Because when I came to Christ 187 years ago, I was taught that if you had problems in your life, you didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
If you had any sin in your life, if you were depressed, if you had any kind of mental illness or struggles, you don't tell anybody. It was a shameful thing to seek out any kind of help.
Yeah.
And thank God we're in a different world now,
Absolutely.
and I'm grateful that I'm here, having been through my own depressions and, all the stuff. It's like it's very, very real. But even in the Christian world, I'm sure there's still some, peer pressure to act like everything's perfect because we don't want to embarrass God. Because, it seems like a reflection on God if we're His children and we've got problems. But, it's not the absence of problems that proves God's presence, right?
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
So
that's good.
How do you feel about being more open now about having really dealt with suicidal thoughts? Even a couple of years ago, that sounds like, yesterday.
It feels like yesterday.
I mean, it's like, I can say, well, when I was 20, I struggled with blah, 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 and I'm old now, and that was back then. But if you say, well, I'm really struggling right now, I mean, that's so shameful, it seems like sometimes. But how do you feel about being more open with this darker season you went through?
Yeah, I mean, it's the simple fact that I just have no shame over what I've walked through, period. I feel like God has healed me so much of that. And if we're really going to relate to people through our art, we have to be open and vulnerable and let people know we're human. We are human. Right. And even with Jesus, we still go through some really, really hard things. And I think what makes it so taboo is that no one is willing to just be real and honest about it. But the more conversations we can have about, I'm a mom of 3. Postpartum depression is a real thing.
Yeah.
Yet the church isn't even talking about it. Let's meet people where we're at. And where we're at right now as a society is that people are going through some real dark things. The world is hard right now for a lot of people. Let's just be honest about it and open. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Hard for Christians.
Yes.
Hard for, on so many levels. We could go a lot of different directions with that. But how do you feel in this album? I mean, some incredible songs. Near My Father, No Dark Corners, Come. Oh, wow, what a powerful song that is.
Thank you.
Soul Song, beautiful. That's Enough for Me, No Matter the Cost, and Just Getting Started. I mean, so many directions we could go to that. In which song or songs do you feel that you were able to really capture more of your own journey or desire for people to encounter God in a deep way as you have? I mean, are there a couple of other songs you want to talk about?
Yeah, Near My Father is one where it just talks about having to lay down pride and wrestling with pride and wanting this kind of quick fix and feeling like, especially in an industry like the music industry, that God really does believe and say that there's room for everybody at the table. And so when I think about that, I was given this vision of just like all of God's kids sitting at this table, but none of us are without sitting by Him. He's sitting by all of us because He's God and He can.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the most present tense, I feel like, songs on this project of just maybe this continual lesson of like, hey, there's enough to go around. God does not run out of blessing. He doesn't gatekeep anything.
I love that.
Yes, he's a good father, and we all have a seat next to Him. And then No Dark Corners, which right now I feel like has just kind of been a fan favorite at the moment. It's just kind of taken off in its own way. I feel like it's one of the most relatable ones of like, I am at the end of my rope, but I can't hide from the Lord anymore. He knows all. He sees everything. Yeah. And so let's just come to Him in honesty and transparency.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amanda, thank you so much just for being you, for showing up and being willing to share the good and the bad and the ugly and everything in between. And like I said, giving us all permission. I think I want to touch on one more thing. Maybe we touched on it earlier, but something you said earlier that you, in your first few years of this thing, you were, maybe your motivations were a little bit misdirected, but when you had that moment of surrender, you realized that you didn't know the Father as you should, or as he longed to be known. What would you say to anyone listening today who might feel like they don't know the Father as well as you have now come to know him?
I think it starts with daily surrender. It's not just a one-time thing. It's daily laying down our lives, as the word says. And so I think it starts there, and then it's just spending time with him. You know, if you're in a marriage with somebody, you got to know your person. You got to know your husband, your wife. And even now, I'll be married 15 years and I'm still getting to know.
Congrats.
Thank you. It feels like a big deal. I'm like, am I old enough to be married for 15 years? That's crazy. But I'm still getting to know my husband. How much more can I get to know the Lord? And that's by daily seeking him, daily spending time in his word, and reading this book that he has given us to walk through life with. And so I think it just starts there. You know, seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added.
So beautiful. Amanda Janson, new BFF.
Hey!
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here and sharing your heart.
Thank you for having me.
It's very meaningful. And again, I just hope everyone will rush right out to their favorite DSP and download and just consume your new album. And all of your back catalog is absolutely stunning as well.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you for having
yeah,
me.
my pleasure. Thank you. All right, you guys, Amanda Janson, incredible vocalist, incredible heart for God, willing to share vulnerability. I hope she doesn't have a vulnerability hangover after this interview, as Brene Brown used to say, but very transparent, but sharing the work of grace in her own life. So go out and check out Amanda Janson. And I usually ask about your website and your Instagram.
Yeah.
What are your handles?
Amanda Janson Music for everything.
For everything.
We made it
Okay.
easy.
All right, perfect. All right, well, I just totally bombed my outro, but we're going to leave it. But go to Amanda Janson Music for absolutely everything, and send her some love, send her some encouragement, and share her music with your friends. All right, well, that does it for this episode of Song Revolution. Check out the show notes. Check out our new Ultimate Songwriting Guide. It's right there. A link is right there in the show notes for you. And of course, we'd love for you to go by and visit NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. We'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for joining us on today's episode. Be sure to check out all the information below in the show notes, and be sure to like and share. We'll see you next time.